Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to make some delicious smoked pulled beef. Now we're going to be using a drum smoker. I would love to know what sort of smoker you use, so let us know in the comments below. So we'll get started by setting up our smoker. Real simple stuff. We're just going to remove our cooking grate, our heat deflector, fill our charcoal basket up with briquettes, and then we're going to put a fire lighter in there, light it up, and let some of our briquettes start catching light. So we've got about 10 minutes now while our fire lighter does its job. It's going to burn out and those briquettes are going to catch light. So we'll have a look at the cut of meat we're going to use. We're going to be using this beautiful cut of chuck steak. We've picked this up from our butcher at Austral Meats. So we'll give it a quick trim and season it up. Right, so we don't actually have too much to trim off of this. We're just going to trim any excess fat and silver skin. Just got a little bit underneath here. And that's about as far as you need to go in terms of trimming. Now we're all trimmed up, it's time to season our steak. We're going to be using our steak shooter, steak and beef rub. If you'd like to support us and purchase some, I'll put a link in the description below. So we'll go ahead and give this a nice even coverage. All right, so we're all trimmed and seasoned up. Let's have a look at our smoker. Right, so our fire light is burnt out. Our briquettes have started to catch light. So what we're going to do now is shut our lid. Going to open that vent up fully and our top vent up fully, and then we're going to let our smoker preheat for a little while, and we'll come back once we hit around that 250 Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius. So it's been about 15 minutes and our smoker has come up to temp nicely. We've got a couple of beautiful bourbon barrel oak chunks from natural smoke. So for now we're going to get our wood chunks in, our heat deflector in, our cooking grate on, and then we'll get our beef in. So our smoker obviously dropped a bit of temp while we had the lid open. So once we get back up to around that 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius range, we're going to shut our intake vent down a little bit and we're going to look to stabilize our smoker off at around that 275 to 300 Fahrenheit or 135 to 150 Celsius range. So apart from that, we're just going to leave our chuck until we're happy with the color. This is a 1.5 kilo bit of chuck, so I'm assuming it's going to be about a 6 to 8 hour cook. But as always, we're going to be using time as an extremely rough guide, and we're going to be using internal temperature and feel as our main point of reference. So like I said, for now, we're going to come back in a couple of hours until we're happy with the color, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, so we're about 2.5 hours in. Let's have a look. Our smoker has been holding beautifully. Oh, have a look at that color. Absolutely incredible. Really happy with that. Right, so I'm happy with that color and the bark, and to help preserve that bark, we're going to wrap this thing up in some butcher's paper and we're going to add some liquid to it. You could use some beef stock or some butter. Today, we're going to be using some stout, but we don't want to put the stout in cold. So I'm just going to put a foil tray on top here and we're going to let our stout heat up a bit before we mix it in during the wrap. Oh, that's good beer. All right, our stout's all warmed up. Let's get this thing wrapped up. So just a splash, you don't need much. We're also just going to pop a meat probe in. So I'm usually happy to wrap anywhere between an internal of about 140 degrees Fahrenheit to 170 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 to 75-ish degrees Celsius. So we're just going to let this smoke away now, and we're going to come back once we reach an internal of around 205 Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius. But like I said, that's going to be one point of reference. Our main point of reference now is going to be probe tenderness. We want this thing to be pulling apart. We want it to be super tender. So that's what we're going to be checking for. But that 205 or 96 degrees Celsius mark is going to be a good temperature to start checking at. It might need to go a bit further. We'll make that decision once we get there. So we'll come back a bit later on. All right, so it's been 3 hours since we've wrapped it up. So we're just shy of 6 hours total into this cook. We are at 210 Fahrenheit or 99 degrees Celsius internal. So let's have a probe around. Smells incredible. So this side, I'm really happy with. Still getting a bit of resistance there, and we're at 206 Fahrenheit. Really happy with it over here. Again, there's a little bit tough. So I might let that go for a half an hour longer. All right, it's been another 45 minutes actually. Let's have another probe around. Yep, that's feeling much better. So I'm really happy with how that's probing now. It's probing really nice all over. So what I'm gonna do now is get it out, let it sit at room temperature for about 5 to 10 minutes to stop that cooking process so it doesn't overcook. And then I'm gonna let it rest in an esky until I'm ready to serve it in about an hour and a half. And then because we're done, let's shut down our vents and save any unburnt briquettes for our next cook. All right, our chuck has had a nice rest now, so let's get it out, have a look, pull it apart, and have a taste. All right, that is seriously tender and juicy. It smells so good. Time for a taste. That is incredible. Seriously, our steak and beef rub, I've had it on burger patties, brisket, pulled beef, beef short ribs, steak. It is so good. I cannot get enough of it. So juicy and tender, so much flavor. I've got a really cool video coming out where we're going to use up some leftover pulled beef in another dish. You are going to love it. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. The button should be just down there. So I'm going to go tidy up and clean this up off camera. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Some call me a sinner.